Chapter 28, The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. In the mid-1800s, nationalism was sweeping the U.S. Northern states and southern states had a different idea about the balance of power between the states and the federal government, and different ideas about abolitionism. The movement to end slavery. The North and South also both wanted to control the best farmland. This led to the American Civil War. Slavery divides America. In the South, where the economy was based on tobacco and cotton plantation, owners wanted to continue to using enslaved people. By the 1850s, over 3 million African Americans were enslaved in the South. Northern states had economies based on smaller farm and manufacturing that had little need for slave labor. Federated States of America, United States of America, Union, the Union and the Confederate States. As each new state was added to the Union, there was debate on whether or not it would allow slavery. When California applied for statehood in 1850, it wanted to be a free state, but this would have upset the balance of an equal number of free and slave states. A compromise was decided. California would be a free state, and the people of each new state of territory thereafter would decide after slavery where they lived. The Union, the United States, during the American Civil War, it also referred to the Northern Army and Northern State. The abolitionist cause. In 1855, in the territory that would later become the state of Kansas and Nebraska, citizens voted on whether or not the territory would be free. Many people already living there wanted it to be free, but thousands of people crossed the border to vote for a pro-slavery government. This fueled the abolitionist cause. Abolitionist John Brown led a riot, killing several people. Hundreds more died later that summer in a period of time that became known as Bleeding Kansas. Brown led a raid on an arsenal, a place where weapons are stored in Virginia, so he could arm slaves. The raid failed and Brown was sentenced to death, but he became a hero for the abolitionist cause. Frederick Douglass, an escaped slave, wrote several autobiographies, including the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, 1845, and traveled around the nation to educate people about his harsh experience as a slave. Douglass advised Abraham Lincoln, who was elected the 16th President of the United States in 1860, on the issue of slavery. Douglass also influenced President Lincoln to eventually let African American men fight in the Civil War. Many African American divisions, like the 54th Regiment, helped the North win. You have a point there, Frederick. These divisions were made up of men from both free and slave states. Lincoln thought that the divisions over slavery were dangerous to the strength of the government and its unity. He wasn't in favor of abolishing slavery altogether, not yet, but he believed that slavery shouldn't spread beyond the stage where it was already practiced and that it could be encouraged to die out. The case of Dred Scott. Dred Scott was a slavery who sued for his freedom. In 1857, the Supreme Court ruled that Scott was property, not a U.S. citizen, even if he was in a free state. He had spent time living in a free state, so he had no right at all. This case further fueled the cause of abolitionism. Harriet Tubman risked her life to smuggle slaves into the North through the Underground Railroad. It was not really a railroad, but a network of secret routes and places such as farms and houses that helped people get to freedom. The Confederacy forms. In 1860, Southern Carolina decided to secede from the Union to preserve its right to continue slavery. She said to formally withdraw from alliance or association. 6 other states followed. In February, they formed the Confederate States of America and Confederacy and chose Jefferson Davis as president. In his inaugural address in following March, Lincoln states that secession was illegal, but that war was not an option. In the end, though, he couldn't stop it. The Union Army represented the northern state that was nicknamed the Yankee. The Confederate Army represented the southern states and was nicknamed the Rebels. The American Civil War began in April 1861 when Confederate troops captured Union controlled Fort Sumter in South Carolina. After that, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina joined the Confederacy. This is the order in which the states joined the Confederacy: South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee. Use this rhyme to remember when the Civil War began. In 1861, the American Civil War had just begun. Although Virginia joined the Confederacy, the western part of the state wanted to remain loyal to the Union, so it formed its own state in 1863, West Virginia. Civil War Battle. The first Battle of Bull Run in Virginia in July 1861 was the first major battle of the Civil War. The Union and Confederate armies were made up mainly of volunteer soldiers prepared for war. The Union force tried to capture Virginia state's capital, Richmond, but Confederate troops led by Thomas Jackson held their ground. Jackson got his nickname Stonewall Jackson. Here, when someone yelled, "There is Jackson, standing like a stone wall," there were so many casualties that both sides realized the war would be long and difficult. The North End had more people, supplies, and factories, but the South extended the war with clever generals who knew how to use guerrilla warfare. The Second Battle of Bull Run followed about a year later, and again the Union soldiers were forced to retreat, possibly because of a bad choice of generals. The Battle of Needham in September 1862 was the first Civil War battle of on Union territory in Maryland. It was the bloodiest one-day battle in U.S. history. After this battle, Lincoln warned that slavery living in Confederate state would be freed unless these states returned to the Union. The state didn't comply, and Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, theoretically freeing over 3 million people. Lincoln did not actually have the constitutional power to end slavery, but he has the authority to seize enemy property, including slaves. So, this military order could free all slaves in any area that was in value. It encouraged some slaves to escape. The Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania in July 1863 was the turning point of the Civil War. Union troops won and gained the upper hand. General George C. May, now in charge of the Union troops, decided to practice total war to not only defeat of Confederate Army, which was under the command of General Robert E. Lee, but to destroy the region resources and morale. The Gettysburg addresses. Gettysburg is also where Lincoln delivered his Gettysburg address on November 19th, 1863. 4 months after the battle, Lincoln spoke at the Soldiers' National Cemetery there about how the Civil War would lead to new freedom for Americans and that no soldier would die in vain. His speech begins with the line 407 years ago, a reference to the American Revolution, and is considered one of the greatest speeches in history. The first line of Gettysburg address, 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent, is a clue to the year in which it was delivered. A score is 20, and 407, 4 times 20 plus 7 equal 87 years. 1776 plus 87 equal 1863. Union General William Tocci summoned lead his troops from Atlanta to Savannah on a March of the 3rd in 1864, destroying railroad, plantation, everything in sight. Total war was a term coined by Union General William Sherman in 1864. Total war is a military strategy of including any or all civilian and civilian resources as military target. It often results in many casualties. Sherman himself recognized the brutality of the tactic, but reasoned that it would destroy the rebel and end the war faster. The outcome and aftermath. The American Civil War began. The Union and Confederate Army lasted 4 years, 1861 to 1865. In April 1865, at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, Lee and his Confederate Army surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant, ending the war. In January 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment, which officially abolished slavery. The Union was preserved.